Imagine yourself as this light. The flame is that fiery passion you have as a kid. Now, it's inside of each and every one of us. And this is our world. The water, it can be calm, it can be still, or it can be shaky, restless, and scary. Regardless, we're dropped into this world, and one day you will drown in it. You're going to be expected to come back up to the surface, succeed, and pull yourself through. Now, I'll give $20 to anyone that can light this lighter. But you'll find out that you can't. Click, click, click. It won't come back. So losing. You'll realize that you can't do it, but not immediately at least. But losing that spark doesn't have to be the end of the story. Now, this might not make sense right now, but we'll come back to it in a second. I want to touch on something else first. When I was 8, I thought monsters lived under my bed. I thought growing up meant staying up later and choosing your own snacks. But today at 18, I realized the real shift wasn't what I could do, but it was what I started to feel. Doubt, pressure, the slow fading of wonder, the way joy started needing a reason. That quiet moment when you stop asking why and start thinking, I should already know. Childhood used to be a sanctuary, a place of wonder, imagination, and safety. But today, for so many kids, that sanctuary is crumbling way too soon in a world that moves way too fast. Children are no longer allowed to just be children. They're pushed into awareness before they're ready and forced to carry the weight of adult realities. Not to put full force blame on social media, but it starts this self-worth violence on the screen that becomes this background noise and a constant pressure to grow up, fit in, and succeed. And I know this not just because I've done the research, but because I'm living in this transition myself. Standing at the edge between childhood and adulthood, I can feel the grief of what we've lost today and the urgency of what we're still losing. So today I want to ask a difficult question. What happens to a generation when innocence becomes a luxury? And how can we reclaim space for wonder, for softness, for childhood, before it's gone entirely? This is one of my favorite basketball players, Jason Tatum. Now I know you're all thinking, here it goes again, talking about the Celtics, always yapping about how the Knicks are a poverty franchise. But this man Tatum deserves more credit than any of us realize. Jason Tatum has openly discussed how becoming a father profoundly impacted his life and career, especially during challenging times in the NBA. Reflecting on Father's Day in 2024, Tatum admitted that he initially felt a little selfish upon learning that he was going to be a father at just 19 years old, still in college. For many of us, that's just a year older than we are. He expressed, I wasn't super thrilled to find out I was going to be a dad, acknowledging his concerns about how it might affect his basketball aspirations and public perception. However, he quickly realized that fatherhood was the best thing that could have ever happened to him. He emphasized that there's nothing better than being a dad, highlighting the profound personal growth and joy it brought him. Now, while Tatum was quickly introduced to this shocking reality, the world questioned his ability to perform at the next level. He was clouded with doubt and pressure, just as this 19-year-old kid. Nonetheless, he realized that his son Deuce was always observing him, which motivated him to make better decisions and strive to be the best version of himself. Tatum explained that he was able to see his kid self in Deuce, and are in today's day known as one of the best father-son duos in the entire NBA. They have a beautiful relationship that serves as example and presents Tatum being his son's best friend. When Tatum thought his life was skewed, he was really just finding the beauty in it again. He found a spark so precious in having his son. But that doesn't mean go have babies. Now there's a movie that I want to talk about called Beautiful Boy. It's a story of a teenager, Nick Sheff, who had everything going for him. He was smart, talented, and had a loving family. But he stepped into the adult world and it hit him hard. Expectations, confusion, pressure. The water, that overwhelming, swirling world we're all thrown into, started rising. And to survive it, he turned to drugs. Not to rebel, but to numb, to quiet everything. To feel, in his own words, okay for a moment. That's what happens when the world becomes too loud, too soon. When childhood ends not with a gentle goodbye, but a shove. But what moved me wasn't his spiral, it was his fight. The small moments where he tried again, where he wrote, where he connected, and where he remembered who he was before the world got too heavy. Eventually, he found his way back and he started to heal. After the movie, he found his way back and started to heal. And maybe that flame doesn't look the same as it did when he was a kid, but it still lights. And it's still his. Now, I'm not here to talk about mental health, which is obviously a very pressing issue that should be dealt with immediately. But for the sake of the talk, I want to look at some data. The leading cause of death in people under 50 isn't heart disease, homicide, or accidental. It's overdoses. Today, more people are combating illness with drugs than ever. For some kids, it's weed after school to escape the noise in their head. For others, it's pills, not to party, but to sleep, to focus, to feel something, anything. It's not just about chasing a high, but it's about running away from the lows. And that's heartbreaking because kids shouldn't be experts in self-medication. They shouldn't be Googling how to turn your brain off at 18, 16, 15, 13 years old. But the truth to an answer isn't the pain we're trying to escape, it's the connection. It's having a space where you can cry, fail, and ask questions in a safe space. Still feel seen. Going back to the movie, the way Nick describes that he's been able to find himself again is one of his favorite childhood activities, writing. It brings him closer to the people around him without having to talk much. And for him, that was writing. He was able to write in a space where he wouldn't be judged and discovered himself and that fire all over again. Now you're probably expecting me to give you a concrete solution on how you find yourself, but to be honest, there isn't one. There isn't one policy, there isn't one app restriction, there isn't one mindfulness program that's going to save all of you. You have to start small. For me, it was making wine with my dad. Yeah, it sounds weird and neither of us drink, but sitting on that cold hard floor of the basement with my dad brings me back years when we would figure out how to make those remote control cars work, or teaching me how to play chess. This peculiar activity drives those little memories out of me because I get to sit down with someone close to me and escape the world for a moment. It reminds me that being in the warmth of your childish self is okay, and it lets me relight my flame. So when you look at this lighter and you think that its flame is gone, you've already misjudged it. Because it takes time to find that thing again, that thing that we love, that childhood self of ourselves. Because it's always been there. At the end of the day, there we go. At the end of the day, it's always been there. Thank you.